Dimitri, thank you so much for coming on. How are you?
Yeah, really good, Lloyd.
Good.
Hope you're well too.
Yeah, yeah, all good down this
That's good.
way.
That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, how have you been? You've been busy with work. What have you been up to at the moment?
Yeah, yeah, it's been good actually because I mean, you never know, it's always different, but often I'll work and then it'll come to the end of the year, like Christmas and everything. That
Mm,
usually quietens down and then maybe takes a little bit. And then by around springtime, it starts to pick up. But this
yeah.
time I was actually working over Christmas and on into the new year. I was doing a play of all things. I was with the Royal Shakespeare Company, and it was a Shakespeare play called Twelfth Night, and just had a lot of fun doing that over the kind of holiday
Okay.
season. And then I was just finished working on a mini series, which I don't know if you get this with other actors, Lloyd. I'm not allowed to talk about it. Like
Yeah, yeah. All the
you sign
NDAs.
all this
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
and you can't talk about it and of course the more they don't want you to talk about it the more exciting it actually is, like
Mm,
because it's in a world is like a lot of the computer games, that
okay.
I've
So
done and
another
are
video
out there.
game. Yeah. Okay.
It's not a video game, but it's
Okay.
certainly it's a science fiction,
Oh
and
wow.
I don't think it's going to be out till next year, but
Okay.
it was great fun. So
Okay.
that's been me so far this
I
year.
feel like it could be like a sort of Dying Light type TV series or something. You know, you
Yeah,
mentioned science, you never know.
yeah. I neither
But
confirm or
you can't say
deny these.
anything, so
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. That's right. Yeah.
What do you take pride over most? Because I mean, obviously with acting, there's voice acting, TV acting, plays as well. What do you enjoy the most between all subjects? Just out of curiosity.
Well, it's funny because certainly for me coming into acting, there were certain things that made me want to be an actor. And that, for me, that was specifically film, like going into a cinema and
Mm,
seeing an amazing movie on this huge screen and walking out going, oh my God, human beings do this. How do I get involved? And also doing theater, like and where I grew up, there was like theater in town. It was always exciting to do.
mm,
But I actually, it's been interesting in getting into the industry. When I got into the industry, I never thought I'd be doing things like computer games or radio. I
yeah,
mean, right, and like these are things I never considered, and then discovering them and starting to work in them, they're great too. I mean, the best thing, and I don't know if others have said this, but I find it's the sort of smorgasbord medley aspect. You're doing one type of job, like a theater play, and then the next thing
mm,
is you're on a TV show, and then you're doing a computer game, and then the film. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
great.
yeah,
It's
yeah, I'm sure.
the variety's great.
Yeah, it's nice to have a
Yeah.
wide range.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you have a job like that, it's pretty cool.
Mm.
Um, what drew you to the voicing side of it? Like, was it something you wanted to do when you started acting? Because I guess you can choose specifics if you wanted.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to date me a bit, but um, when I started getting into voiceovers, there wasn't, I mean, I don't think actors had fully clued in that this was a real viable sort of strand of working.
Mm,
Um, I mean, this is almost about 30 years ago, so we're getting into the like late 90s or so, mid to late 90s,
okay.
and like cause I think because like to make like a voice demo, which is kind of like your primary thing of selling yourself,
Mm,
like that wasn't easy. You had to go to a studio, and that involved forking over a lot of money and and then like trying to get these ads together and to put them together. So and that's what I did. I just thought, oh, I just want to try and find this income stream. I
yeah,
mean, just be
yeah.
totally frank about it. And
I suppose back then you just couldn't record like like you can now. I guess. I mean, you probably had to have spent
oh,
a lot more money. Um,
oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Like my first voiceover demo, I don't know how he did it, but a friend of mine could record your voice onto VHS cassettes, and so I was recording
Okay.
somehow. I don't know how we did it, Lloyd. We recorded onto a VHS cassette,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
then that was somehow transferred. Don't ask
There's
me.
always a
I'm
workaround, isn't there? It doesn't matter
There
what
was like this
medium.
weird workaround, and
Yeah.
it worked. And then so when I got like my head of voice agent, like it felt like it was like new territory,
Okay.
like yeah, which is, I mean, amazing because and I went to drama school, and we weren't all we learned a little bit of radio, but
Mm.
other than that, we didn't learn anything about voiceovers. And of course, now I think that being trained to do voiceovers, that's kind of an ubiquitous part of acting training. Everybody, I
Yeah.
think. does it, you know.
Have you done radio as well then? Just out of
Yeah,
curiosity.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I feel like you got a radio voice to be fair.
No, I've done some
Yeah.
radio. Yeah, yeah, radio is great. I mean, I based primarily in London, UK, and obviously in the UK, there's a real healthy radio scene, especially with the BBC. Although I
Mm,
think it's taken a big hit recently. But it's funny because I grew up in Canada, and that actually has a bit of a radio, like with the CBC,
mm,
obviously the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. They have a bit of a history with radio too, and some amazing actors who kind of like came out of radio. Like I don't know if you've heard of like James Doohan with Scotty in Star Trek, and
mm.
Leslie Nielsen. You know the like what do you call Police Squad in the airplane movies. You know these guys who were all they came out of radio originally.
Okay. Oh wow, it's amazing how it
Yeah,
starts for everyone really, because
yeah,
yeah, some people go straight into voice work for gaming, and they make it look easy, but it's not, I suppose. Yeah.
yeah. The trick is to make it look easy.
Mm. Did you do much voice training, or did you sort of have it naturally to be able to do it?
I went to drama school like after I finished like kind of like secondary and all that education, and I went to drama school at an old
Yeah.
school here in London called the Central School of Speech and Drama, which has a huge voice department, and working on your voice was a huge part of all the training. So um yeah, I really feel that's where it kind of took it to another level, you
Mm.
know.
Wow. It's interesting. I mean, how do you like create and maintain voices for different characters? What's your process of it?
Um, I'd like to say I have like like a huge manual that could explain exactly how it
Yeah,
happens.
yeah,
It's a bit I mean the basic thing, I mean this oh gosh, at risk of sounding boring. I just try to take care of myself because actually your voice very much is very sensitive, and it responds to how you are. You know, like uh, friends of mine, like who have been in the voiceover industry like me for a long time. When we meet up, like to have a coffee, we try to find a place where it's not loud. Like
mm,
to us, the worst place like to be the night before a voiceover is in a really like to go see a gig or to be in a really loud pub or bar,
mm,
because you just got to take care of your voice. Or if you're feeling slightly unwell, I mean, I know that I wish it was, I had some exciting technique or anything, but I think it's
yeah,
just taking care of yourselves, being hydrated, keeping hydrated,
yeah,
and a fun thing I think that's great to do, even if you're crap at it, is learning impersonations.
mm,
I
okay,
can't do impersonation, and not even because not that you have to do them well. It's just
mm,
learning how to mimic someone else's voice just gets you thinking outside of how you use your voice.
yeah,
Um, I find I'm so ingrained. We're also ingrained in our habits of how we sound and how we speak, and so that's part of the fun is like trying to get yourself out of it to speak like somebody else. Yeah.
mm. Right. Do you ever like, do you ever find yourself using your character voices in everyday life? Because like you must have sort of get stuck into it, when you're preparing for a character or voice recording, you must get sometimes carried away, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you make me laugh because I like the one where I really do that. Like I really fall into that. Is like sometimes I'm asked to do a voice. It's kind of like the sort of authoritarian voice, like like two men walk, like like
Okay.
that sort of mock trailer voice, like one
Mm.
man takes on, And if I do anything like that for a while, I'll go home after the voiceover and I'll be like, "Pass me the potatoes," and I'm like, "What am I doing? Why am I just?"
Yeah.
That one's a hard one to shake.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. And if you're playing, I also find if I'm doing a voice for like a character, like especially on film or stage, that sort of sticks around you a little bit,
Mm.
especially if you're doing over a long period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. What was your experience like working on Driver and Dying Light 2 though? Because they're my two favorite games that I know you for.
Oh,
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah. Driver's an original, of course, but yeah. What was the
Yeah.
experience like working on those?
Well, I'd like to start with Driver only because that was the first one of the two.
Yeah.
It was like earlier. The very first computer game I did, I think was Driver 3.
Okay.
I can't remember how many there are. I mean, I had like
Yeah,
just a
there was a
little
few,
thing.
weren't there? Yeah.
Yeah, and then by the time, and then yeah, I got to play John Tanner in Driver San Francisco,
Mm.
And that was what was so dang exciting about that was the way it ended up being put together. There was an incredible amount of dialogue. I don't know if you remember, the gimmick of the game is John Tanner has the ability to sort of go out of his body and into the mind and body of somebody else.
Yeah.
And so that opened up to like you can kind of go into any character, any third person all around you.
Mm.
So, and then once you're in like another car with this, like either with a family or you transport to another car where it's two guys driving a, you know, like a garbage truck or whatever, you can have conversations. So we were just recording all this sort of material, which maybe someone playing the game would never encounter, but you never know. So that
Mm.
just, so the game took a long time to put together. And then a lot of it was recorded in London. At one point, we had to go out to Los Angeles.
Mm.
All the cinematics, I mean, the motion capture was done in Vancouver, and it
Mm.
felt like filming like a Marvel movie. I mean, like you know, because it was like, oh, you're going out here. All right, we're going to be over here
Mm.
next month, and oh, we need you back because we're doing you know all these other characters. You got to pretend that you are as John
Yeah.
Tanner.
Yeah.
So that was great. And then Dying Light 2, I confess I did not know much about that game beforehand, and that was sort of like an
Okay.
accident. It was like an accident because like an audition came in, and I'm sure you must have had other actors tell you this. Like computer game auditions, they tend to not give you very much information. They kind of
Yeah.
give you very little, and often you just sort of like go in blind and you make like this big
Yeah. You don't get
intuitive
given
choice.
much direction, do you? For
Yeah, yeah, they're trying to like. I understand, like they don't want like things to leak out. You know what I
mm.
mean? So they don't reveal very much. So I got this real brief blurb about Waltz and Dying Light 2, and I just thought, okay, well, it says
This is
he's
different.
this is different, and it said like he said it becomes like an animal at points, but it didn't really explain why. And then it said he also, I mean, I don't think it actually is how it is in the game. He lost his daughter tragically or something.
Mm.
So I just made this like intuitive, like spur in the moment choice of like I'll just have him sound slightly like in like an animal in pain, even when he's talking normally. And that just worked. And then they just went, yeah. And then, but they said, yeah, it's only 7 weeks, so that's all we need you for. So we did 7 weeks. Then a few months later, I don't know if you heard this again from other actors. A few months later, like, oh, we need you for another month. And then
Oh
about
wow.
almost a year later, like, oh, we need you again to do. And I was like, wow, okay. And
Yeah.
all the time, I was only learning bits and pieces, and it was really only at the very end that I finally saw how the whole thing was and how it all was put together.
Mm.
Um, yeah, but it was so much fun doing those scenes,
Mm.
where he's just it's Aiden, right? He's talking, he's sort of like fighting with and
It was quite a big
yeah,
accident then to get a role like
yeah. It
that
was,
because you was in it the whole way through the game, so it's quite impressive for that
and
to.
at the time they didn't
Yeah.
say that. They
Yeah.
they they sort
Okay.
of said, oh yeah, it's this
Just kept giving
guy.
you scripts.
Yeah, and I was getting scripts and yeah, yeah. And then there were points where we often they'll do things, and then another thing I totally get is they'll realize later on, oh, we've got to change this and that, so you'll go back and re-record stuff. So
Mm.
as we'd go back, I on certain scenes, I go, oh, okay, I can see by where we're going and how it's changed more and more what's going on. Um, yeah, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
So it sounds like you brought some of your own ideas into Waltz as well, then, for the voice and
Yeah,
work. Yeah. Well.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I mean, I try to. I mean, we all our voices all sound different, but I try to find what sort of thing can I put in that might say something about who this character is. You know, it's like in our bodies. We hold tensions in various sorts and
Yeah.
bits here and there that says about who we are and why we do it. It's also the same with our voice,
Mm.
um, why we sound the way we do.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. When you were recording though, or did you look at the game after or not? Because I've got quite a few questions about Waltz. Um.
Oh, you do.
Yeah.
Oh
I
Lord,
mean,
I feel
I'm
like
gonna
I'm kind of
catch you out now.
disappointing you because uh, this is where I'm probably gonna put my foot in it. I don't really play computer games.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Well, you
mean,
might remember
or
just from recording the scripts then. Might be able to work
yeah,
it
I
out
mean,
from that way.
I have seen some playthroughs, like
Okay. Yeah.
online, and uh, yeah, and I mean, the one thing I really remember with recording it that was kind of I had to get used to is how violent he is,
Mm.
and to sort of like an almost kind of casual violence, like there was no problem talking to somebody to do something, and then, you know what, I'm just gonna slash your face up, or I'm gonna,
Yeah.
whatever, I'm gonna push you off the bridge or
Yeah.
whatever it
There's
is,
quite a
right?
lot of violence. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then when he freaks out, that was the other one. I didn't realize at the time I got the role how he completely goes just nuts.
Mm.
And when he turns into that kind of, it's like a mutant virus sort of being, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm probably going in circles a little bit. So it's just like I was sort of like I would move along as we went through the game and kind of piece together what was going on.
Yeah. And what type of
And
character? Yeah, he
yeah,
was.
and trust the, I mean, the guys behind the game were great. They were always really good to explain just what I needed
Mm.
to know, and they were very, helping me, go in the right directions.
Mm. When you were recording, though, did you see Waltz as a villain, would you say, or do you think, there was a sincere or tragic side to him while reading the script?
Mm. That's a great question because I think, as a general rule of thumb, I'm often been told that as an actor, you really shouldn't see parts as good evil. You got to see the human being behind the person. And so I remember doing Waltz, I was very much like, okay, all right, okay, he's a bad guy, okay.
Mm.
But there's a reason why he's like that. There is obviously some kind of anger and hurt that has become so inward and introverted, and is like sort of bursts out in rage over what's happened to him, and I think particularly with Mia, right?
Mm.
And that is enough where it just fuels him to go crazy. I
Yeah.
remember, so I'm this is a slight
No,
digression
you're all good. Take your
digression,
time.
but
Yeah.
okay, cool. I remember, it was like an interview with or well, no, it was with Gary Oldman, and he was saying that, like, because I think he was asked, like, how do you play all these evil bad guys? And
Mm.
he said they're like kids in a sandbox, and they just, how a kid, when someone crushes their sandcastle, I mean, they just go bat crazy. And he goes, it's just that as an adult with no care what the damage or the repercussions are.
Mm.
And I sort of, yeah, it's like it's kind of, you just get down to real primal selfish emotions, I
Yeah.
guess,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Very,
rage.
yeah, very emotional character.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I mean, I know you said you didn't play the game, but do you think Waltz was ever misunderstood by the players, or do you think the game represented him and presented him as intended as a character?
I think the game presented him as he intended, because
Yeah.
it's funny. It's also funny you say that, because there were scenes where Waltz is sort of reasoning with Aiden.
Mm.
He's trying to explain, like, this is why it's got to be like this. And I remember at the time doing, going, oh yeah, this is kind of, like, this is there's a kind of logic to why Waltz is doing what he's doing,
Mm.
but ultimately it is wrong, and he needs to be stopped, in the way that Aiden finally does. So I sort of like, I mean, I understand why he's doing it, and I think that's good, because you don't just see him again as a bad guy. It's kind of more of a three-dimensional character.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately, I don't think it would have gone well if he wins, or
Mm.
as it were,
If he succeeded his plan, though, what do you think his ultimate goal was in reality?
oh God, I don't know. You know what I think though, Lloyd? I think if he succeeded, it wouldn't have been enough. I
Okay.
think that's it. I mean, I think there's like, again, I remember I just thought there was this deep pain that he has that just cannot be healed. And
Yeah.
all the crap he's doing, all this horrible stuff he's doing, is to try to answer to it. And it's not working. And then it's all about power and control.
Yeah.
And yeah. So to me, that's not so much there's a result. It's like it ends up turning into like a wheel that just rolls down the hill and it just doesn't stop. So I don't know
Yeah.
what he would have when he would have said if he would have stopped.
Yeah. It's almost like a never-ending thing, isn't it? Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I mean, considering you mentioned about power, actually, what do you think his story sort of says about that power and science?
This is deep. I think,
I'm challenging you.
well, yeah, no, no, no. I think, oh, I know it's that. Okay, I'm gonna say it's cliche. Everybody knows it. It's from Spider-Man.
Okay.
With great power comes great responsibility. I actually think it's a cliche because it's a truism. I
Yeah,
think,
yeah. It's so true, actually.
and yeah, and when I think of scientific advances or even technological advances, it opens up that the people who are the first to utilize them or use them, they have a tremendous power. And I think as a result, they have a tremendous responsibility.
Mm,
And I think responsibility means thinking more than just your own personal uh, wants and needs. Waltz has this incredible power, but it's so rooted in this deeply dysfunctional personal want and need and pain that he's not really thinking about what is going to be good for everybody. That's the other thing. Like we'd been recording for a while before I really saw what he looked like, and that
mm,
that was great too. That was a moment where I was like, oh wow, look at the scars across his face, and
mm,
that kind of haunted look. And then there's moments where you see him before all that, right? There's some flashbacks,
mm.
how he was before. And yeah, that was really great. I just
But
remember that being like
there was sort of quite a lot in the game, that was where the atmosphere really shocked you. Then it sounds like you were quite shocked by some of the, storyline and graphics of it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to pull out that sort of thing like, I go all methods. So, but just as an actor doing a job, when you're doing one where someone's being just awful to other human beings, it is a bit like, okay, you got to kind of find your way to go in there and make that believable, and come out and smell the daisies and roses and enjoy the sunshine and go back to your normal life.
Mm. Do you think there could really be a zombie apocalypse in this world?
In our
Considering it's
world.
around that, yeah, considering it's around that, and there's always quite a lot of TV
Mm,
shows or games trying to portray,
mm.
illnesses and things that can cause a virus, and yeah,
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I think it's funny. What I find interesting is obviously the big technological conversation these days is artificial intelligence. But I wonder, I'm not going to bet on it, but I wonder if the next wave after AI is going to be biotechnology. So I know I'm not talking about viruses turning us into like these super, like mutant creatures, or like we're
mm,
no longer quite human. But when we start being to truly able to do stuff to our system or add stuff to us to really be able to go beyond human, what humans can do at present, I think that's going to become a thing. I think it's going to
wow,
become a huge thing with its own ethics and problems.
yeah.
We may not be here, but it will be. I think that will
Well,
be
we
a
might
thing.
be. You never know. That scares me.
Or we might be. That might be one of the things that it does.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. No, I love
Live
that actually.
long.
Yeah.
Mm.
Going back to Waltz, what lines do you remember the most? Like what are the most memorable? Am I saying that right? What are the
Yeah,
most
memorable lines.
memorable lines? Yeah, yeah.
Um, the thing that sticks out the most is it's an interesting sort of cinematic where uh it, Aiden is sort of like watching behind. He's sort of sneaking up and watching behind, like he's kind of in a little compartment looking out
Mm,
between the cracks of the wall, and he's watching Waltz telling this person before he kills him about my grandfather kept horses and how he had to shoot one.
mm,
Like he killed one, and how disturbed I and how it messed his mind up. But what must be done must be done.
mm.
And that really stuck with me because I thought that this is someone saying, here, I'm going to tell you a moment in my childhood that kind of shaped the direction of how I function in the world. And it's painful, right?
Mm.
That one sticks with me. And there's a moment where Aiden and Waltz are fighting. Oh God. And I
Yeah,
can't remember what
it's
the
the big fight
revelation is.
scene. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
the big fight at the end, you
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. I think are you on about that one?
It's kind of mid of the way through, and oh, I feel like I'm so sorry. I should have
No,
watched
you're good. Yeah.
some playthroughs before we chatted. Um, yeah, I mean, certainly some of the conversations with Aiden, and you know, it's again the wonders of technology, but the great actor, you know, like it was great job that the actor who played Aiden. Like we never met,
Mm.
you know, we never were in the studio together at the same time. I don't even think
Oh wow.
we're not even in the same city,
Mm.
um, same country. But you know, I would whenever I would hear of him, it was great because it would help me. Then okay, where do I go to help really fill in what he's doing? You know, to help make
Mm.
the scene work.
No, of course. Um, I mean, that answers my questions about Dying Light at least, so that's all good.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I did love Driver as well, though. Do you think Driver could ever get a sequel and make a comeback?
I would love that. I would love it.
Yeah.
I had great fun doing Driver.
Mm.
And again, that was yeah. I mean, I had fun. It was tedious is the wrong word. It was just a lot of work doing all that dialogue of all
Yeah.
these possible people that John Tanner could sort of teleport to. But it was a lot of. I mean, it was just so fun seeing it at the end. I don't know where you'd go with Driver after that.
Have you got a story, in mind that you think could happen
I
for
don't know because
Tanner?
I start to think like yeah, I mean, and also because it's a dream, isn't it? That's the
Hmm.
other thing about um, all that stuff. The reason why it's all happening is because it's all going on in his head while
Yeah.
he's kind of comatose or whatever. And so I don't know where you go from there.
Mm.
Drive on the moon.
Yeah. You never know. I mean, that's what a lot of games are about now, isn't it? It's all futuristic stuff, and
Yeah,
yeah, there's quite a lot
yeah,
of
absolutely.
yeah.
Um, yeah, it's funny, you know, and that I love doing that. That's one of the things I love with games because, like, for example, say on the whole, most television and film generally is contemporary.
Mm.
You know, it's set in modern day. Very easy to shoot, right? If you're shooting on location, you don't have to like make something look like it's Middle Ages or on some planet somewhere in the future. So, you know, I mean, those obviously are there, but most of the jobs, and I think of all the film jobs, they're kind of around modern day. So, but when you get into computer games, you're like, I mean, you're just in another dimensions and
Mm.
planets and scenarios that just are so fantastical. And that is kind of the fun that is to find the sort of human interaction
Yeah.
amongst these amazing worlds. You
Yeah.
know, that's where I get
It's
my
it's
kicks anyway.
fascinating how people can create. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm like a game I've been doing for a few years now. It's an online game, an interactive game called Dead by Daylight.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that.
And yeah, and it's set in like different dimensions and different I mean it I mean the world behind it is set in
Mm.
different dimensions and different realities and alternate universes and I'm this guy called the observer who's sort of watching them all and documenting them all, so I'm often relating all these stories. I mean, um yeah, they're so much fun to say those
Yeah.
stories because they're just so crazy.
It sounds like you're proud of Dead by Daylight out of most of them. You seem
uh
excited about. Yeah.
yeah, well, it's the one I'm currently doing. I mean, every
Mm.
so often I sort of go in and I add more observer stories, as it were, to the sort of library of all these stories that the characters can find and learn about the world they're in.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, and they're all like Halloween style stories. You know, like
yeah.
it's hard to turn the light out at night after hearing them.
Mm. What game are you most proud of? I mean, or job would I say? Um, just out of
Um,
curiosity. Yeah. Because I'm sure you have one of those specifics that were really happy about doing. Um,
yeah, I mean, a lot of games, and I'm sure that again, the actors probably said this. I mean, you kind of go in, it's really quick, and you're done. You know, and that's great. You know, that's great. But whenever a game involves a long period of time and there's an arc to the character that you can really get into, then I start to have that's a lot of fun for me.
mm,
Um, the first sort of big game stays with me because because it was the first time I did a big game. It's called Killzone 2,
okay.
and that was with like a Sony,
Yeah,
and I was
that's yeah.
was playing this game that Guerrilla Games, and I was playing this guy named Sevchenko, sort of the character you play,
Mm,
and you walk. I just remember walking into the motion capture room, and you sort of see this like bare kind of stage, and there's like kind of 360-degree cameras and lights all around,
Okay.
and they gave us these sort of styrofoam, huge futuristic like it was like meant to be these otherworldly kind of weapons, guns, but they were like made out of like pink styrofoam, and just all the dialogue we had to do. They're just crazy about
Mm.
ships blowing up in the sky and stuff like that. And then I had to play. Then there's a scene where I confront the villain at the end, and the actor playing the villain was do you know Brian Cox, who he's the lead actor in
Yeah,
Succession.
I've heard of him.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
he's an amazing Scottish actor of like
Mm.
decades of amazing work, and they got him to play the villain. And so here we are in this scene, this big confrontation, and that's supposed to be on this other planet, and we're all wearing sort of like black unitards with all those dots all over us, and the big styrofoam guns. And I thought, this is like being a kid playing in the playground. This is just awesome.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
So much to everything. Are you
yeah.
working on anything else? I know you mentioned a series at the start, but is there other projects that we can expect from you?
There is. I mean, it's another little thing. Oh, I'm sorry, Lloyd. I'm not
GTA
allowed.
6.
You know what? Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, like
No,
it's almost
it'll be
like I don't
good.
know. Again, like when we get I find a lot of the auditions I get now, they actually arrive with an NDA form that you have to
Mm,
sign to go back.
yeah.
The only thing I find funny about the NDA forms is sometimes it's for projects that are based on events in the news or historical events, and I think, well, we all know what happened. I don't know why we need to
Mm,
keep this a secret.
yeah.
But anyway,
Well, it sounds
yeah.
big. Sounds very important. Yeah.
I saw of the people, I mean, all the people you've interviewed, that you interviewed Roger Cross, which made me smile because
Okay.
uh, I know Roger from literally like about 30 years ago,
Mm,
and we did this workshop together that happened over many, many weeks, over a few months, and everyone really got to know each other, and I just always have fond memories of
oh,
Roger, and he was amazing then. He was
well,
amazing then.
goes
Yeah.
to show it's a small world, isn't it, in the
Oh yeah.
talent industry? Yeah, it's pretty cool. You
Yeah.
check some of the episodes out though, so it's amazing talking to you and having you on. It's amazing to add you to the lineup as well. So yeah, it's awesome. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, my pleasure. You got it, Lloyd. My pleasure.
Thank you.